Welcome to the Deven Cripe Podcast, episode 1. Why does this podcast exist is because I am here to help you live a beautiful, amazing, extraordinary, purposeful, and meaningful life. I am Deven Cripe, your host, a transformational coach, leader, author, and ultimately just a vessel of God, of the divine, of the infinite intelligence of the cosmos, a guide to help you live a beautiful, purposeful, meaningful life. All right, so let's get into it. So, opening line: most people optimize for a life they don't even want. Okay, so my first question for you today on this podcast is, do you have a vision? A compelling future, a compelling vision. Without a vision, the people shall perish. Without a vision, the people shall perish. What is your vision? What is your aim in life? Your perception is narrowed to what your goal is, to what your vision is. So if you're aiming towards hedonistic pleasure of your selfish ambition, like it talks about in the book of James in the Bible, you're just all about yourself. It's all about significance, me. It's all about money. Your perception of reality is going to be narrowed to your result, to your outcome, towards your vision, towards your goal. And a lot of people don't have a vision, like a vision without a compelling future, right? Then that's the people who commit suicide, the people who are depressed and anxious, right? It's like you don't know what you want to do with your life. Do you have a vision for your career? Do you have a vision for your financial future? Do you have a vision for your romantic relationship? Do you have a vision for your fitness and health? Do you have a vision for your life? And is it such a compelling future that it makes you motivated, makes you driven to go out and be and become your very best, right? Because mountaintops, that's what these goals are, right? It's like climbing Mount Everest or climbing Mount Rainier or Mount Hood in Oregon, right? You're trying to climb a mountaintop, right? But it's not about getting to the mountaintop. Science proves this, right? All of the dopamine, all of the pleasure hormones that are released are in the anticipation of a good time, right? They have studies on this. Like when you're about to go out and have a party or go to the club, right? Most of the actual pleasure hormone, most of the excitement, most of the positive emotions is actually as you're getting ready to go out, not when you go out, right? The same thing, your anticipation towards reaching the goal, towards getting married and having children, towards building the $1 million business, towards finishing the book, towards whatever your goal is, right? It's the anticipation. It's the progress, right? If you want to be happy, it's about progress. It's about progress, my brothers and sisters, right? We want to grow. If you're growing, then you're serving life, right? If you're not growing, you feel like you're dying. So if you want to be happier, you need to grow. So my point is most people are trying to hustle down their career, hustle down whatever path they're going down. And there's a good quote by Socrates, right? The unexamined life is not worth living. I'm paraphrasing. I believe that's how you say the quote. Socrates, unexamined life is not worth living. That's the foundation. Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living. What does that mean? Are you examining what path you're going down? Are you studying? Are you following the right faith and the right religion for you? Are you following the right career for you? Are you pursuing the right relationship for you? What I mean by that is, what are you serving? Are you serving your higher self, the vessel of God, the vessel of divine? If you're not religious or spiritual, what you can fathom, what you can dream, what you could imagine being the best version of yourself? Are you serving a lower need and a lower animalistic impulse, the flesh? Are you serving that? Are you serving pride and envy? Are you serving significance? You want to be special instead of happy. You want to be special instead of fulfilled. You want to be special instead of actually contribute what you're meant to make in this world. The unexamined life is not worth living. My point to you guys right now is, what is your vision? If you don't have a vision, you will perish. A lot of people that aren't making progress in life, aren't feeling alive, aren't feeling like they have a meaning and purpose for their life is because they don't have a compelling vision. If they have goals, if they have a vision, maybe their aim is not correct. The most efficient, most productive thing you can do with your time is clarify and optimize your aim, your goal, your purpose. What are you working towards? Who are you serving? What God are you serving? In the Bible, it talks about idols. Are you serving God or are you serving a different idol? An idol can be sex, drugs, fame, envy, being like Lucifer and Satan and making yourself a God, where it's all about me versus a unified higher purpose, a unified of the divine, the unified of Jesus Christ, the unified of God. It's a unifying spirit that transcends self. It's a higher level of consciousness beyond self, right? Versus the level of consciousness that you think you're a God and this is all about you. Right? which is not even you. It's your ego. It's your persona. It's not you of your consciousness, of your spirit, of your soul, of whatever it is you believe in. It's a persona that you've created, right? That you believe that you are, and you're serving that instead of serving the greater good, instead of serving truth, instead of serving God, instead of serving Jesus Christ, instead of serving the divine, right? You are serving this idea of yourself, this persona, this ego, right? When you become more spiritual in your spiritual personal growth, you realize it's less about you and it's more about the collective. It's more about the unified. Yes, you have a part to play in it, but it's about your family, your friends, your community. It's about your nation. It's about the world at large. It's about humanity, and not even just humanity. It's about the collective of conscious, the collective of nature and animals and the whole world and the whole cosmos, right? And bringing it down to reality is that we're all made up of the same stuff, stardust, regardless if you're religious or spiritual, believing we all have a divine soul, that we're a child of God and we are made in God's image, and that we are worthy of love and we are worthy of God's love and we're worthy of everything already because of our soul, right? Like a Jim Rohn quote, we're all equal as souls. That doesn't mean we're equal in the marketplace, right? Financially, in business, in capitalistic America, it's about how much value you add to the marketplace, determined by your skill sets and how hard you work. How skilled are you and how hard do you work? How much are you actually serving, contributing to others? That will determine how much money you make. Right? Are you really good at what you do? Do you have the skill sets people actually value and need? Are you working hard? And are you serving people? The more you do those three things, the more money you'll typically accumulate, especially, and if you live in America, you're already in the top 10% of the world financially. And so, especially in America, it's how much value you're adding to the marketplace. But that's different than your value as a human being, your value as a soul, your value. We value trees and squirrels and cats and dogs, and all of us humans have a spiritual sense of value, right? But that doesn't mean we add the same value to the marketplace and to others, right? My point is clarifying your aim, clarifying your vision, right? Making sure you're unified towards the highest good, towards God, towards the truth, towards whatever it is you believe in, because regardless if you're religious or spiritual or not, it's an ideal, right? What is the highest self is an ideal. What is heaven is an ideal. What is God is an ideal, right? Even if you're atheistic or scientific or materialistic or a naturalist or whatever it is that you believe in, right? There's an ideal of what your highest self is. There's an ideal, right? And what's unified that between having a spiritual religious belief is you have an idea of what God represents, what truth represents, what greater good represents, what heaven represents, what sin means to miss the aim. Sin means to miss the target. What does that even mean? Well, it means, hey, this is the will of God. This is the truth. This is greater good. This is the direction that you're meant to go. This is who you're meant to be. This is how you're meant to act. This is how your right speech, right thought, right, you're right. And sin means you miss the target. Okay. And what is even repenting and confessing? Well, it's, hey, I messed up and let me surrender. Let me get back on the right path. Because why? Because I want to serve the greater good. Why? Because I want to serve God. Why? Because I want to be and become my best self. Why? Because I love myself. I love God. I love people, and I want to serve that. Right? So clarifying your aim, clarifying your vision, having a vision, or the people shall perish. Now, I'm riffing off stuff. I've been doing this for years. I'm a transformational coach. Growth from Love. The book just came out. I wanted to talk about why I wrote that book, Growth from Love. I'm not here to perform. I'm here to actually change how you think and live. All right. So the book, Growth from Love. I don't care if you buy it or not. The book, Growth from Love, it's $4 on Kindle and it's $11 on Amazon. Deven Cripe, Growth from Love. I'm going to talk about it here, but I'm going to release the free version here of the podcast within the next couple months. If you guys just want to listen to it for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, here on YouTube, it will be out for free because I didn't write it to make money. I wrote it first for myself. Right? Myself and God. I wrote it for me to understand, what does it really mean to grow from love? What does it really mean to serve from love? What does it really mean? Not just a saying, but what's the depth of it? Right? And so I wanted to go through that process, and I went through a process, 100 hours or so, rereading it, editing it, spending all the time writing it. I'm really trying to internalize and reflect on what does that mean, wrestling with and reflecting and praying and meditating and getting revelation of what does it mean to grow from love. And then I came from love to wanting to serve people. I want to serve my family. I want to serve my siblings. I want to serve the people in my church community. I want to serve some of my friends. So I'm going to write it with them in my heart posture as I write this book, right? And then I wrote it with some of my past and current clients in mind. Like, okay, I want to make this as a tool for people to be able to grow, to serve from love. So I'm coming from love as I'm writing the book. And then I want to serve whoever it's going to be relevant to. It's not a money grab. I want just to contribute and impact as many people people as possible, right? If that's one person, thank God. If it's 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, a million people, whatever it is, hey, it's kind of like what I talk about in the book. Hinduism has this saying, we have the honor of work, but we do not have the privilege or the entitlement to the fruits of it, right? And it talks about this in Ecclesiastes in the Bible as well, where the most vanity, everything's vanity, 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 it's vanity. What is it? To believe in the Lord with all your heart and to enjoy your toil under the sun, to enjoy your work, right? And I'm reading this book by Arthur Brooks, How to Plan Your Life or How to Build Your Life. And he talks about your work, your career being love made image or made in love made visible. That's what your work is. I have love for you. I have love for God. I have love for humanity. I have love, and I'm going to make it visible through my work. If you're a pastor, if you're a salesman, if you're a business owner, if you're a coach, if you're a trainer, if you're a construction worker, if you're building a building, if you're an electrician, your work is love made visible. It means so it shall be done. So it shall be done. Amen. So regardless if you're Christian or whatever you believe in, amen. So it shall be done. Jesus said, pray in my name, and you can move that mountain. If you have faith small as a mustard seed, you can move that mountain. Pray in my name, and it shall be done. Amen. When I'm talking about growth from love, fear-driven growth from survival, it talks about this in the hierarchy of needs, right? Hustle, proving yourself, chasing, never satisfied, even when you win, right? Fear-driven. What I really mean by that within the book Growth from Love is we have spiritual human needs, right? Of love, connection, growth, service, contribution, impact, right? And if you're driven by fear, if you're driven by certainty, if you're driven by significance, meaning like I need to be the richest, the tallest, the most ripped, the most beautiful, what status, I need to have the most status. If you're driven by those, you're playing a game that you cannot win. There's always going to be somebody more beautiful. There's always going to be somebody who has more money, who's in better shape than you, who has a nicer car than you. If you're driven by significance, you're playing a race you cannot win, right? But when you're coming from love, you're connected to divine, you're connected to God, you're connected to what the essence of truth is, right? You're connected to why we are even alive, is to love ourselves, to love God, to love our neighbor, to love people, right? And when you're coming from love and you're growing from love, right, it comes from a much more depth place than just about yourself and selfish ambition and just wanting to grow for yourself and grow because of status and grow because of significance. It's never going to be enough. You go from making 30 grand to 100 grand to 200 grand to 300 grand to 500 grand to a million. It's never going to be enough if you're playing that game, right? Versus if you're coming from love, there's this concept as intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards. If you're playing intrinsic rewards, meaning that you're coming from a place of just wanting to get better, to serve people, to serve more people, to serve at a higher level, you just want to contribute, you just want to serve, you're coming from love. For that love, you want to grow. From that growth, you want to serve, you want to contribute, right? You want to be and become more from love. This is where fulfillment and purpose lies, is the intrinsic rewards, coming from love, coming from growth, coming from service, right? Versus extrinsic rewards are about what you get. Right? Life is not about what you can get. It's about what you can give. Just like relationships. If you want to have a successful romantic relationships is about what you can give in a relationship, not what you can get. Right? In a friendship, it's about what you can give, not what you can get. In a coaching, it's what you give, not what you get. Right? In life, it's what you give to life, not what you get. Right? And you live that life, you're much more whole. Right? So when you're coming from fear, when you're coming from significance, when you're coming from, I'm not good enough, so I have to prove myself. And that's why you want to grow. That's why you want to make more money. That's why you want to become more successful. It's never going to be enough. You're playing a rat race. You're a hamster in the hamster wheel. You're never going to finish because it's the wrong game. It's the wrong vehicle. Right? When you come from love, when you come from contribution, it's a whole different game. So love-driven growth, rooted and sustainable, done for wholeness, not lack. Right? When you're coming from love, what is the definition of giving? It means to give without attachment, right? It means, hey, this is a gift. I don't need nothing from you. This is not transactional. This is a gift. Do it with it what you wish. I don't care, because it's a gift coming from love, no attachment. Versus giving, expecting reciprocity, giving, expecting to get something back. That was never a gift. That was a tactic. So when you're giving from love, when you're truly giving, having no strings attached, you're going to feel so whole. There's more than enough. If it's giving money, if it's giving your time, if it's giving your love, if it's giving your knowledge, whatever it is, you're contributing, you're serving, especially when you're coming from a place of love, not for love. You're not giving so you can receive love. You're not giving so you can receive anything. When you're coming from love, you're giving purely from a whole place because I love you. I don't need nothing from you, right? That's a whole different game. So give one away. Ask, how am I doing this to prove something, or who is it I actually want to be? For example, around giving, you're going to go give to a homeless person. There can be value in sharing that publicly on social media, sharing it with people in your life, your family, your friends. I think there can be value in it because it depends on the place that you're coming from. Because if you're doing it from a place to want to inspire and influence people to do the same, to give more, I think it can have a positive effect. But if you're doing it to virtue signal that, hey, look at me, guys, I'm a good person. I just donated all this money to charity and to church, this homeless person. And if you're doing it for virtue, you're doing it for status. People do this with religion, right? You're virtue signaling. It's not about that you actually have the faith. You're not doing it for God, the love of God. You're doing it because you're trying to show that you're important, that you're significant, that you're a better person, that you have more morality and ethics. That is not, and God, it talks about in the Bible as well. That's not a good place. It's your heart posture, right? So most times when you're giving, if you're giving to your family, if friends, charity, church, if it's giving your time, volunteering, or if it's giving your money or whatever else it is, most of the time, I think it's very important just to do it for yourself. Do it for God, do it for the love of the person, do it for the love of God, and just keep it to yourself instead of sharing it on social media or sharing it with a whole bunch of other people. Now, if your heart posture is correct, maybe once in a while sharing with other people or sharing on social media or sharing publicly. If you're coming from love, I want to share this to influence people and be a leader and share so it inspires other people to give and other people to volunteer. Then you're coming from the good place in your heart versus doing it for yourself, right? Doing it for the virtue signal or show, hey guys, I'm a good person. Then you're still coming from significance. You're coming wanting to be special, right? You don't have the right heart posture. I talk about that in the book, Grow from Love. You want to have the right heart posture. It talks about that all over the Bible. God checks your heart. It's your heart, right? And what does your heart mean? It's your intention, right? What's your intentions with what you're doing? Is your intention selfish ambition? Is your intention to gain something? Is your intention to show that you're better? Is your intention to show that you're more significant? Or is your intention just to serve? Is your intention just to love? Is your intention just to grow, to be and become your best for God, right? For the truth, for the greater good, for the divine, right? I use these different words because I want it to resonate with everyone, regardless if you're Christian, atheist, scientist, Buddhist, whatever your worldview, believe, whatever it is. I want this to be valuable for everyone. Right? That's one of the reasons I use different language, because people have different definitions and different connotations with different language. And I want my place here is to serve everyone, not just to serve, Jesus Christ said to love your neighbor, right? To love your enemy, to pray for your enemies, right? Regardless of what your belief system is, atheist, materialist, if you're a determinist, if you're into philosophy, if you're a Buddhist, you have secular beliefs, if you're a Christian, Catholic, Islam, I want this to serve everyone. That's my heart. My heart to be a vessel for God, a vessel of the divine, the vessel of the truth, the vessel of the greater good, and to serve and benefit everyone. Take what benefits you, wrestle with what challenges you, and if something doesn't serve you, leave it behind. All right, so here we are going into most self-help culture is just fear with better branding. Oh, are we talking about Andrew Tate right here? Oh, are we talking about some Wes Watson right here? A lot of people you see on Instagram and TikTok just trying to point at your insecurities and make you feel crappy so they buy your product or they make you act a certain way. There's a lot of people operating what they call the lizard brain. I have a good amount of friends that were in it as well that actually eventually left. I was one of the first people to leave. I made it very well known why I left for all of the bad, dark reasons that I became aware of. This is before I really started reading the Bible and come to Christ. I was a part of this group, and what I see is they call it the lizard brain. You got to be aware with psychology, certain language patterns that a lot of people use fear, force, tyranny to manipulate, to influence people in a negative way so they can become victims, subordinates, slaves, buy their product or service or whatever it is. They use fear. That would represent darkness or force, using all these different tactics to serve themselves. Parasitic, where it hurts you. Maybe it's not as bad if it doesn't hurt you. Maybe you benefit in some ways, but Your intentions set your aim, right? They change your perception of reality, right? That's why I do challenge behavioralists, or there's some people I see on social media who have a lot of influence that are like, your intentions don't matter. Alex Ramos, he said, judge people's behavior and how it affects the result than their intention, because he does have a point that people can have great intentions, but they end up harming you. Or would you rather have somebody who has bad intentions, but end up benefiting you? He does have a point there. But your intentions shape your goals, right? They shape your perception of reality. They shape what you're going after, right? That's a huge part of spirituality, religion, philosophy. Like, it's clarifying your thought process. It's clarifying how you interact in the world, right? Your beliefs. I went to Christian college and studied pastoral preaching and theology at some point in my life. And I remember taking this class on worldviews, right? It was basically teaching about different worldviews, right? You got materialists, you got scientists, you got naturalists, you got theists, and one thing he said that stuck with me, this was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, is be very careful what your worldview is or what your beliefs are, because they will determine your whole life, right? Because your worldview and what Tony Robbins calls your global beliefs dictate how you view who people are, what politics is, how Republicans are, how Democrats are, how Christians are, how Muslim people are, how Mexico is, how America is, how women are, how men are. Your global beliefs, right? Your worldview, that's your lens, that's your glasses of how the world is. And it will dictate all of your behavior. Psychology is the study of human behavior. It will dictate how you act. It will dictate how you speak. It will dictate what opportunities you see. It will dictate what opportunities you take. It will dictate who you date. It will dictate who you talk to. It will dictate how you talk to people, right? It will dictate everything, right? And so be very mindful about what your beliefs are, what your global beliefs are, how you believe people are, how you believe your worldview is. And I think it is something to wrestle with, to clarify, and always be a seeker. Jesus said, and the door shall open, seek and you shall find, right? Be a seeker, be curious. I think a virtue, a value to have is be a curious person. Be a seeker of truth, be a seeker of God, be a seeker of the divine, be a seeker of the greater good, right? Because if you're not, turn the wrong way, right? You will be compelled a wrong way versus seeking what ultimately is the greater good and the truth is, right? If you're not a seeker, right? The unexamined life is not worth living, right? Are you going to be a follower, or are you going to be a leader? Are you going to find what the truth is and continue to go down that route? Or are you just going to be blindfolded and follow the blind? Be a seeker. Now, I don't claim to have all the answers, but I claim to be somebody who's interested and curious of finding what truth is, what greater good is, what God represents, who God is. I'm a seeker of truth. I'm a seeker of love. I'm a seeker, right? And I think we all should be seekers. I think we all should be curious and interested. Come first, answers come second. That's a quote from Tony Robbins. When your why is big enough, you'll be overcome any how. That's Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, right? It's the emotional leverage, right? Human beings won't change unless the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change. You need to have a big enough why, a big enough purpose, a big enough reason, or multiple reasons, enough emotional leverage that gets you to follow through with going to the gym, with reading the Bible, with going to church, with starting the business, with doing the marketing, with doing the sales, with doing the job, with getting the money, with showing up as the best husband or wife or boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, best friend, parent, son, best whatever it is. You need enough emotional leverage, enough of a why, enough of a purpose, right? And that's going to transcend willpower. See, willpower, we all have willpower, right? But we only have so much. But when you have a strong enough why, you'll be able to overcome anyhow. When you have a strong enough pull motivation, when you have a strong enough purpose, you will be able to transcend any obstacles, any trials and tribulations, right? So it's 7 layers deep. What is your why? And the deeper you can get, the more emotional juice, the more reasons you get of why it's a must and not a should. You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you must have. And when it becomes a must, when you have enough emotional leverage, when you have enough of a why, when you have enough reasons, multiple reasons, when you have enough of a purpose that pulls you, you will be able to overcome any how. You'll be able to overcome any challenge, right? So you guys need to get deep, because it's not just about discipline. Discipline's a virtue, absolutely. But discipline will come from that pull motivation of having real reasons, a deep why and purpose for why you're doing what you're doing. Okay. Chasing success before you know what you actually value is how people end up rich and miserable. Ooh, that's why so many people kill themselves, so that have all the fame and have all the money, right? What are your values? What is the deeper essence of life? What does life really mean, right? Because the money is just a byproduct. Money's just fuel. Money's just a tool to use, right? It's not the purpose of life, right? It's like saying the purpose of life is gasoline in your gas tank. Gasoline in your gas tank just gets you places. Money in your bank account just allows you to buy certain things and do certain things, right? But it's not the essence of life. It's a value exchange, the means that we're able to trade, right? It's not within itself the deeper existential purpose and meaning of life, right? And when you clarify your values, right, where all of us have values that we're either conscious of or unconscious of, you know what you value in life, right? That's what we were talking about with clarifying your aim, clarifying your goals, right? Because if you're chasing something that will ultimately lead towards the life that you want, that will lead, you don't only want to be successful, but you want to be fulfilled. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. That's a Tony Robbins quote. You want both success and fulfillment. You can have both. You can have the money and status and accolades and whatever, but you can have the happiness, the joy, the spirituality, the family, the emotional fulfillment as well. And if you're going to pick one of the two, I think you pick the latter, right? Because if you have all the wealth and all the great things, but you're completely miserable, there's no meaning to your life, you don't have love in your life, you don't have joy in your life, what does it even matter, right? Therapy culture taught people to explain their pain. Nobody taught them to grow through it. And that's the difference between therapists and coaches. Therapists typically go through and resolve your past. And I'm not saying there's not value in that, but coaches help you lead forward towards a compelling future and get results, because results is what matters. So like therapy, there's different types of therapy, but a lot of times it's rehearsing and going over what your trauma was or what happened in your past. If they're a good therapist, they'll help redefine what that means. They'll help redefine your story, right? Because you could tell yourself a different story about your past and it will change how you feel about your past. Coaching though, is about what now? You want a dream relationship? You want a dream career? You want a dream life? You want dream emotions? You want to be and become your best? Let's make it happen, right? Coaching is about moving forward. Therapy is about reframing the past, reframing, telling a different story, all right? And you can even do that yourself through journaling, right? You can journal about your traumas, journal about your past, and clarify, is this the truth? Can I tell myself a more empowering story? Will that change how I feel? Because your past doesn't need to become your future unless you live there. If you live in your past, where you live in that trauma, you live in that negativity, your future will become that. But if you don't live in the past, or at the very least, you tell yourself a more empowering story, you reframe it, guess what? That will no longer hold you back. It can prevail you forward if you have a compelling future, if you have a compelling identity of who you're going to become and the goals for your life. You can be propelled forward. Confidence isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a decision you make before a feeling shows up. You don't experience life. You experience the life you focus on. If you're focusing on all the reasons why I'm depressed, I'm so broke, if you focus on all that motherfucking shit, you're going to experience it. Words, language, change your biochemistry. You experience what you focus on. At any moment, you can focus on anything. You can focus on what's good in the moment. You can focus on why you're happy, why you're excited, what you're grateful for. You can focus on a lot of different things. You could also, the negativity is always there too. You can always focus on all the bad and all the negativity and all the reasons why my life's... You could always focus on that bullshit. But guess what? You're going to experience what you focus on. So change your focus, right? And you'll change your life. We experience the life we focus on. So if you want to experience confidence and certainty in a given moment, focus on all the evidence, all the reasons, all of the why of why you should feel confident and certain. What trials and tribulations have you overcome? Through Christ, I can do all things, right? What challenges have you already overcame? What mountains have you already climbed, right? You've already done a lot of things. You have a lot of moments in your life where you did feel confident, where you did feel certain, where you did overcome trials and tribulations, where you did overcome hard shit, where you did overcome challenges. You have a lot of evidence, a lot of reasons of why you can and should feel confident and certain. At any given moment, you can decide to focus on that, embody it, and visualize it, and emotionalize with it. Feel it right now, right? Versus, at any given moment, you can focus on the reason I feel insecure, I feel depressed, I feel sad. Screw that bullshit. Do you think that you're going to be able to serve God, serve Christ, serve the greater good when you're feeling insecure, when you're focusing on yourself, when you're focusing on your limited self? Do you think that's Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, God speaking to you right there? Or is that Satan himself focusing on all the reasons why you suck, focusing on all the reasons why you're depressed, focusing on all the negativity? Do you think that's God? Do you think that's truth? Do you think that's the greater good? Do you think that's the divine? Or do you think that's the enemy? Do you think that's the little self, the lower self? Whatever your worldview is, it could be your lower self, little self, Satan, demons, whatever it is that you believe, because a lot of it's metaphorical. But what is it? Are you focused on? If you want to feel confident and certain, focus on the reasons why you should feel confident and certain. If you want to feel happy and joyful and blessed, focus on all the reasons you should. If you focus on all the negativity, that's what you're going to feel. That's what you're going to experience. And you need to learn to change your focus. Change your focus, change your life. All right, like in any moment, we have both. We have the story of greater good, of feeling confident and certain, and we have the moments of hardship and challenges and all the stuff that we could feel. At any moment, I could focus on what's wrong. I can focus on what's bad. I can focus on why things won't work out. I could be a pessimist. I could think of the worst case scenarios. And I can tell you from myself and observing other people, that will hardly ever get you anywhere good. The people that have built the greatest things are extreme visionaries, extreme optimists. What is a visionary? A visionary is manifesting into reality something that's not already there. An optimist is, hey, this is going to work out. And it's going to work out 10 times better than I ever could imagine. Who do you think is going to take more action? Who do you think is going to get better results? Somebody who's focusing on the negative of all the reasons why it's not going to work, why it's going to suck, right? Or the person who's so optimistic, they're going to take 10 times more bolder action and 10 times more action because they have so much faith. They have so much belief that it's going to work out, right? And so in my given life, I have low neuroticism. I'm extremely optimistic. And there's value in be prepared for the negativity, prepare for negatives. Sometimes, anytime I'm focusing on those things, I'm not making progress towards my goals. I'm not feeling good. I'm not serving. I'm not loving as much. I'm not contributing. I'm not creating, right? So every day I reference it within myself. And this is like a muscle, right? You're building the muscles, right? Well, when you're faced with hard shit, when you're faced with trials and tribulations, when you're faced with obstacles, when you're faced with hard times, that's where the muscle gets tested. That's where you're going to go max bench. That's where you're going to go prove yourself in the arena. When you're faced with those harder things in life, right? In the face of adversity, you still have two choices. You can focus on all the negatives, or you could focus on what's beautiful in this moment. How can I enjoy, appreciate, and love even more who I am, who I'm with, and what I'm doing in this moment, right? You can choose to focus on different things, regardless what you're going through. It's easy when things are good. It's like weight on the bar when you're going through harder stuff, right? Harder challenges. Like, for example, my father being homeless, right? He lives in his RV. He's been doing that for about 6 years. My father's been homeless for about 6 years now. Initially, I went through a season of demonizing him, negative emotions, negative stories, feeling negative things with him. Through Christ, through Christianity, I was able to begin to come from an unconditional loving place and love him. It wasn't always perfect from that point on. Even up until now, I've come to the point of just unconditional love. Like, I love you regardless. I love you because you're a human. I love you because you're my father. I love you not because you're sinless, not because you're perfect, not because you make the right decisions, but I love you because of who you are as a human. It doesn't mean I'm going to enable you. It doesn't mean I'm going to support you staying the same and support behavior that's going to hurt you. But I'm here. I love you regardless. And if you ever want to improve your life, I will help you change. I will help you improve your situation. This has been a journey my entire life with my father, but especially the last 6 years or so that he's been in the situation that he's been in. It's definitely been a spiritual, personal evolution of forgiveness, of acceptance, of love, and transcendence, right? That's a testimony to what we've been talking about as far as what you focus on, right? At any given moment, you could focus on somebody's flaws. You could focus on you could focus on negativity, tell yourself a negative story, a negative narrative, and that's going to associate how you feel and how you show up for that person, right? Versus if you begin to look for the positives, look for the truth, look for God, look for the love in the moment, look for the good things about it, and you tell yourself an empowering story, and you have positive emotions, you're going to be able to come from a place of service and come from a place of love, regardless if they have negative. Both options are always available. The good things, positivity, love, or you can focus on the negative things. one's going to lead towards a lot more love and contribution, service, and impact, versus the other one is going to lead to bitterness and unforgiveness. And that's going to hurt you, them, and God, and everyone involved. Who is this for, this podcast? People who feel the gap between who they are and who they're meant to be. Amen. That's who this podcast is for. The people feel the gap between who they are and who they want to be. Because this podcast is all about being and becoming, being your best self, living a beautiful, extraordinary, meaningful, and purposeful life. So if you're somebody who wants to be and become more, you want to reach the next level of life, and not only being successful, absolutely being successful, but being fulfilled in every single dimension, in every single area of life. Right? That's who this podcast is for. And I believe it's everyone, but there is people who are more conscious. They do value growth. They do value love. They do value contribution and impact. They do value wanting to be and become their best selves. They do value wanting to live an extraordinary life, a meaningful life, a fulfilling life. And that's who this is for. So it's for you if you're still here listening, watching right now. This is also for no fluff. This is real philosophy plus practical personal development, psychology application. This is a podcast of depth, right? This is not a podcast of me telling you what to believe in, but this is a podcast for I'm going to be speaking on. I'll probably bring other guests on as well, talking about growth from love, leadership and influence, being and becoming your best self, religion and philosophy and spirituality, practical business, practical personal development, having better habits, taking better care of your fitness and health, better relationships, friends, family, romance, living a happier life, a more beautiful life, an extraordinary life. But it's your associations with what cuss words mean, right? Where's your heart? Where's your intention? How does that affect, right? My intention is to be real and to be honest and to be blunt and to get your attention and to cause you to live a better life, to grow from love, to serve from love, to be the best version of yourself, to be a vessel for God, the divine, the greater good, truth, right? To be and become your best. So tease episode 2. Next episode is going to be deeper dive into my book, Growth from Love. So next episode, we're going to take a deep dive into what that even means, right? Also, guys, I am taking on coaching clients again. I'm working with a few clients right now. I'm taking on a few more clients. If you're interested in me actually coaching you in personal development, holistic results, performance coaching, meaning everything we're talking about here, it's about living an extraordinary, meaningful, and purposeful life. You want more success in every area: romance, relationships, fitness and health, finance, career, mission, purpose, calling. You want to be and become your best self. You want to crush life in success, in love, in fulfillment, in purpose. I'm taking on one-on-one coaching clients right now. Most likely we'll be launching a community and a group coaching program later as well. If you're interested, I'm going to put my coaching application below so we can connect and have a conversation about how it could potentially serve you, because I only coach people who I believe can really benefit from what I have to offer and have real problems and goals that I can help serve. If you're interested in coaching, you guys can click the link below. The book's below as well. I want you to begin to pray, to meditate, to journal, to contemplate. Whatever your forte is, pray, meditate, journal, contemplate how you could be and become more. How could you be more now? How could you serve more? How can you love more? How can you grow more? How could you be more confident? How could you be more certain? How could you be more in your career, your job, your business? How can you be more in your romantic relationship? How can you be more with your family? How can you be more with your friends? How can you be more of who you already are, the greatest version of yourself? How can you be your highest self, the vessel of the divine, the vessel of God now? How can you become more? How can you die to self? How can you die to the flesh? How can you be more like Jesus? How can you be more like God? How can you be more like your higher self? How can you become more? How can you grow more? How can you serve more? How can you love more? So journal, pray, meditate, think, contemplate, whatever your forte is. How can you be and become more? All right. This is the podcast, episode 1 with the Deven Cripe Podcast. This is your host, Deven Cripe. God bless you. May God be with you. And may 2026 be the greatest year of your life. Till next time. Peace out. Much love.